Standing at the podium during my promotion party, she raised her champagne glass and smiled directly at my husband, the biggest loser I've ever known. Laughter erupted, sharp and cutting, slicing through something deep inside me. I was the man they were celebrating, yet in that moment I felt like nothing more than the punchline of a cruel joke. They say success is the best revenge, but no one warns you how empty it feels when the one person who should have stood beside you never truly believed in you. For the past 10 years, I built everything from the ground up: a thriving real estate firm, a dream home, a reputation for turning failures into stepping stones. But my wife, Emily, never seemed to see the foundation I had laid, only the cracks. Emily was my college sweetheart. Back then, she was radiant, ambitious, magnetic. She could command any room with ease. I loved her fiercely, but over time, the confidence that once inspired me became a weapon, something she wielded to cut me down. First in small, subtle ways, then with a cruelty I could no longer ignore. The promotion party at the downtown Hilton was supposed to be a celebration of our success. She had helped pick my suit, chosen the venue, and coordinated every detail with my assistant. But standing there, hearing her mocking toast, I realized she hadn't planned this night to celebrate me. She had orchestrated it for her own performance. Uncomfortable chuckles filled the room. My colleagues shifted awkwardly. I forced a smile, lifting my glass, but my hand trembled. I searched her face, hoping, praying, for even the slightest flicker of regret. Instead, she smirked, sharp and deliberate, like the twist of a knife in my back. The ride home was suffocatingly silent. Emily scrolled through her phone, the faintest smug grin curling her lips now and then. "You didn't have to do that," I finally said, my voice low, controlled. "Do what?" she asked, feigning innocence. "Humiliate me. Call me a loser in front of everyone." She laughed, the sound devoid of warmth. "Oh, come on, David. Don't be so dramatic. It was just a joke." Then with a shrug, she added, "Besides, it's not like they don't already think it." Her words landed harder than any champagne-fueled insult ever could. My knuckles whitened against the steering wheel. Later that night, sitting alone in my home office, a glass of scotch in hand, I couldn't shake the gnawing unease. Something felt off. Then my phone buzzed. A message from her. "Can't wait to see you tomorrow. He's so pathetic." I stared at the screen, the words burning into my brain. My pulse pounded in my ears. That message wasn't meant for me. The days that followed were a blur of anger and revelation. I started paying closer attention. Her late-night phone calls, the sudden business trips, the way she would slip into the bathroom with her phone, staying there longer than necessary. One evening, after she left for yoga, I decided to follow her. My suspicions were confirmed when I spotted her at a dimly lit restaurant, laughing intimately with a man. The sight was a gut punch. She leaned in, resting a hand on his arm, her smile warmer and more genuine than anything I had seen in months. I didn't confront her that night. Instead, I started planning. Digging into our finances, I uncovered unauthorized transfers to an account under her name. I hired a private investigator who provided me with photos, recordings, and a full dossier on her lover, Richard, a mid-level executive at her firm. The pieces fit together like a cruel jigsaw puzzle designed to break me. The humiliation, the condescension, the steady erosion of my confidence. It had all been part of her carefully crafted narrative to justify her betrayal. But I wasn't the loser she thought I was. I called my lawyer, revised my will, and quietly moved my assets into a trust only I could access. Then, I installed hidden cameras throughout the house, capturing her private phone calls. The most damning evidence? A video of her and Richard discussing their endgame, draining my accounts and leaving me penniless. 2 weeks later, Emily threw a dinner party. Despite the growing distance between us, she insisted I attend. As she charmed our guests with laughter and stories, I waited. After dessert, I stood, clinking my glass. I'd like to make a toast, I announced, my voice steady. Emily's eyes narrowed. I turned to her, raising my glass. To my wife, Emily, for her dedication, ambition, and creativity. You've truly outdone yourself. The room fell silent. With a click of a remote, I projected the damning video onto the living room wall. Gasps filled the air. Emily's betrayal played out for everyone to see, her lover's voice unmistakable. She lunged for the remote, but I stepped aside. Sit down, Emily. We're just getting started. David, this isn't. Save it. I cut her off. She had called me a loser. Now, I was going to show her what winning looked like. I laid everything out. The financial trust, the divorce papers already filed, and the prenup that left her with nothing. You thought you could ruin me, I said, my voice rising. But you underestimated me. That's the thing about losers. We learn how to turn the odds in our favor. Emily's face twisted with fury. You think you're better than me? You're pathetic, David. But her words no longer stung. They fueled me. Then came the final blow. I revealed that her lover had been fired after an anonymous tip to HR exposed their affair. His marriage, too, was in ruins. Emily's face went pale. I'm done being your punching bag, I said, my tone firm. This is your mess to clean up now. She stormed out, slamming the door behind her. The silence that followed was deafening, but for the first time, I welcomed it. The weeks that followed were brutal for her. She lost her job, her reputation, and the friends who had witnessed her true colors. Meanwhile, I found solace in the life I had rebuilt, one free of deceit and betrayal. The divorce was finalized quietly, and I sold the house we once shared. Starting over was daunting, but it was also liberating. One evening, as I sat in my new apartment overlooking the city skyline, I reflected on the man I had become. I wasn't a loser. I was a survivor, a man who had faced betrayal and emerged stronger. Emily's voice still echoed in my mind sometimes, but it no longer had power over me, because in the end, I had won, and that victory was mine alone. They say success is the best revenge. But the real victory? Walking away with your dignity intact, and leaving the broken pieces of betrayal behind.